underperforming, I use this right here to see like what I should consider exiting. And this is one that I can set alerts on any of these, so I could literally go here and make it just a long-term alert, right? We didn't talk about this one, but one of the ones that I like on the 2 and 3 day time frame for portfolio monitor is something like this. I just want to know when MATIC price action on the 2-day time frame, because that's the one I'm using, when does it cross volatility monitor and close? And since MATIC's in a downward spiral right now, yeah, that's MATIC, right? So since MATIC is in a downward trajectory, well, what's it really going to be notifying me of? It's going to be notifying me of when it goes bullish, right? When it crosses to the green side. And so it would be like bullish volatility cloud cross. And so then I would take this and I would say possibly re-enter MATIC investments, review data. And none of this stuff is like super urgent, right? This is like such large time frames that if I catch it within the week of this cloud notification, then I'm good. And so I literally will just create that, and then this chart could just do whatever it does for quite some time, and then I kind of get to decide like what I want to do. I see a lot of what we call Freddy Krueger on MATIC. So maybe like the 2-day is not the one I care about. Maybe I don't care about it, or maybe I do, right? I mean, this was a nice little run, but this is more like macro trading, right? So we touched on macro trading. It's like maybe if it gets above this ribbon and the volatility cloud crossover and it meets those conditions, I reevaluate and I look at it as a longer term swing trade. But maybe it's not appropriate for my macro, my macro thought. So maybe for my macro plans, I would only want to get in if I have this time frame go, bullish with expansion or something, right? So here's a great example. So if we really zoom into like when was a great time to get into MATIC, right here.
Back in the day when it was.
Yeah, and it could do that again if it's really a good thing. So right here, orange on orange with green, and so let's just pretend that I want to use the 1 week. I don't know why everything went away, right? But here's my like example of like, oh, that's perfect, and I could do both, right? Now I'm a macro investor. Don't care about MATIC unless it meets these pretty extreme conditions. And so now I would literally go and I would literally click this and I would say, I want 2 alerts. I want to know when MATIC goes first time orange on the 1 week time frame. People should know this is specifically for the 1 week time frame. I want to know when it goes first time bullish orange on the 1 week. I want to know when it closes that way. If it just flashes, I don't care. But if it closes that way, that's what I want to know. And then I type in my custom alerts and my message to myself, and then that's it. And the other thing, that people could do is go check the settings on the movement monitor. And you either want to only be notified when expansion is also present or not, right? So if I uncheck this and then I set the alert, then it's going to notify me like back here when expansion was not even present, but the movement monitor did turn orange. So it is earlier, but it's maybe not as much certainty, right? So somebody could say, no, I also want to know specifically when it's also got the expansion potential. And so we can kind of like just at a glance see how accurate that was. It didn't really do much the 3 weeks that it didn't have expansion potential. And maybe it's just a coincidence, but this was the week that expansion potential showed up. So you bought the very next week, the opening of the next week, which is fine, somewhere in here. And that's where you caught the move, and you actually did not have to sit and wait for anything. You know, you literally just got notified and you typed a message to yourself in all capital letters. So you would know it's a macro level message. Said, go buy. I type funny things to myself, like, go buy MATIC, dummy. And then, you know, it gets my attention, it makes me laugh, and then I go and do it. And so, you know, like without even really looking at it, it's like you could have,
Huge.
I don't know what kind of asymmetry was possible there, but let's just only focus on, you know, that what a 1 week focus does, right? The difference between focusing on 5 minutes and a week. And granted, this is a crazy one, right? Like finding another Matic or a Soul or whatever is crazy, but this data was there, you know, that's what's crazy. But that was a 63.93% gain. And if we go and we like back test it, pretty sure it'll just show up just like that. Like I think that's a long-term back test for sure. But since we're back testing the weekly, I think it will show us real-time data. So if I back test, you know, what did the alerts really do, or what did it really look like back then? It was there, right? Like it just showed up at MATIC at 0.0361, and then it went away, right? Because this is the same week. So this is like the volatility during that week. And so it's kind of playing around, but you see the setup, right? You see the conditions conducive monitor. It's overextended already on large time frames, but it's looking beautiful. The 1 week, you know, a lot of channel breaks already happening. Expansion monitors happening all the way up into the 6th day. So you had a lot of notice. But I mean, you know, like MATIC was scary back then. People were like, what's a MATIC? I don't know. Is that a shit coin? And so, you know, it didn't happen, right? It didn't close. That week didn't close with the green circle, didn't close with the expansion monitor. This was looking way overextended, and kind of maybe let this be a lesson to both of us, right? Like we see the overextension here in this like smaller perspective, but we also see that MATIC went to some, you know, whatever it was, a dollar or however much money. But I just want to kind of show this entry of when the alert would hit. And I think that's kind of cool in itself. Boom, right there. And so basically, like a person could have just done nothing but just say, I'm just going to enter here and I'm going to use the 1 week volatility cloud for, you know, for my stop loss. Like if it happens to go below that, I'm out. I don't want to lose. I feel I'm scared and I don't want to lose, but you know, maybe something like that. And then it kept rising. So before the end of the week, that person actually could kind of like increase it and
Right.
just collapse their risk. And that's, you know, and it's like for that trade, you know, the rest is history because we know what happened. It went insane.
Right.
Uh, but that's the power of the entry, you know, and then we can kind of see the performance of the movement, or excuse me, of the volatility cloud also in real time. Even back then, right? We saw like, oh man, I'd have to be willing to shoulder a 40% loss. And then in addition, it was kind of neat to see that you could also collapse your stop loss, you know, later that week. You know, you could say, okay, I was willing to lose 40%. I trust these volatility lines, but like personal decision, maybe you put $1,000 in, but at that rate, $1,000 with a 6,891% gain, that's like Pyth. You know, we were talking about Pyth. We can't imagine Pyth being successful right now because it's not, it's just a thing. But if we do the math on, you know, what $1,000 looks like with this kind of move, it's pretty incredible, you know. And so that person just had to be willing to lose $400 at first, and then they collapsed it to, okay, now I'm only willing to lose $220, and then they just collapsed it to zero within about a week, and then they kind of rode this thing, and I'm not sure what that is, but I think it's 68,000. That's I think that is that takes $1,000 to 68,000, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's right. So $1,000 would go to 68,000, and you know, I mean that's like literally give or take, you know, about a 69x. So the same thing could be said with 5,000. You know, that person would have to be willing to lose originally $2,000. But if they were successful, then just loose math, but 5,000 times 68, that's 3,400,000. And that's life changing. And so a lot of people are willing to lose 2,000 for that. What I would emphasize on this like discussion is the amount of people I have seen in the world that are willing to put 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 in, never even look at it, just hoping that it one day becomes a million, and they're willing to lose it all. They're willing to watch it go from, what it is to 80, 90% drawdown with no attention to it whatsoever. So when we talk about any form of risk mitigation, even if it's I'm willing to lose 40% of some amount of money, it's it at least exists to where for most people they don't even think about risk mitigation, that their thing, it's so popular that now it's on social media, just you should be ready to lose anything you put into the space, and it's kind of true, but like what if you could reasonably protect a high percentage of it or a strategic percentage of it, and that to me is like the crazy thing. But yeah, these are some really good examples of macro ideas and like how the alerts work and what's the difference between getting an alert on the 4 hour time frame, orange, first time orange with the volatility cloud crossover on a 21 EMA on the 4 hour time frame. And here's like an example of, tell me when Pyth, that's a new one now, right? Tell me when Pyth has a 3 day or a 1 week, whenever that time comes, has this larger time frame alert. And that right there is, took a while to get there, but because MATIC existed for quite a while and it was just playing around technically in these much smaller prices, right? But people had to watch MATIC for 623 days thinking it's nothing special. And then all of a sudden, less than 2 years after it started being tracked on trading view here, it just exploded. And it's like, oh, MATIC was special. And then the crazy thing is, as people start buying it here. It's just the way the world is. It's like people doubt it here. They're like, no. And then it's here. And then here, it's all over crypto Facebook groups and YouTube, and it's amazing. And so, that's to me, that's the game usually.
Right.